Hi there. Welcome back to the Complicated Kids podcast. I'm your host, Gabrielle Nicolay. I am a toddler whisperer, a speech therapist, and a parent coach. And today I'm joined by Dr. Tara Williams. Tara, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you too. We're going to hop from toddlers to teens today and talk about college. But before we do that, I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about yourself and the work you do.
All right, thank you so much. So I am Tara Williams. I am a tenured chemistry faculty at a community college in Santa Clarita, California. For the past 15 years, I've been working with neurodivergent students as they transition to college and now working with middle school and high school age as well. Most of these students are neurodivergent with autism, ADHD, AUHD, etc.
Yeah, awesome. And before we hit record, I kind of asked you, like, what do people need to know that they don't know? And when you started to say it, I was like, no, no, hang on, we're going to hit record. But um, there are some things that change between high school and college as regards accommodations, as regards who does what and where and when. And so walk us through kind of a high level or whatever level you want to go to in terms of like what's different, what changes, what do people need to be ready for, and how are we preparing kids for that?
Awesome. All right. So if we're thinking about in high school, most likely your neurodivergent student has an IEP. You help them with the meetings. You all meet once a year. You advocate, or maybe your student has been there for a while. So everyone kind of knows, including their teachers, right? Like what's going to happen. So in that summer before college, now your student is now in charge of their accommodations. So they need to be making that initial meeting. With your help is totally fine, but they need to be making that initial meeting. They'll have to send their paperwork in. They'll have to make sure that their testing was done within a certain amount of time. That's a especially important one to check on. Um, and also making that meeting in the summer. Colleges and universities have thousands of students coming in, depending on the size, in the summer. If you're not making that meeting in the summer or scheduling it in the summer for August, you may not get in to meet somebody till October. That's meaning you're halfway through the semester without your accommodations. So then the student will have to advocate with their professors when, sort of sending the letter. I'd always recommend making a meeting with the professor, but they now become their own advocate as they are adults. You can sign off and have some wiggle room with that if the student wants you to work, to be able to access things on their FERPA, but technically they are the person in charge.
It's such a dramatic, and having gone through it with my own kids, it's a really dramatic shift where like the university, and my kids don't have accommodations, but the university does not want to deal with me ever except to pay the bill. And to your point, and as you were talking about, summer before you go to college, I was getting kind of anxious because it's actually that's like the last kind of time, like that's the least amount of time that you probably want to leave for these kinds of arrangements and to teach skills, because there are some skills in terms of like how do we teach kids to advocate in college if they've never done it before. So can you roll us back into high school and kind of how do we teach that self-advocacy piece?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say no matter what age your student is, there's going to become there's an issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether that's you're going on vacation and your student's going to miss a few days, your student is sick, whatever it may be that they miss assignments. So my suggestion would be then, and it may take your backup and helping them with the original email or whatever it is to be like, hey, teacher, I missed this assignment. What can I do? Or even better, before you leave, how do we sort out my makeup work? Right. And so even then, they're getting used to being the one that is contacting their teachers so that when it comes to that professor outreach, they have a little practice there.
Talk about the level of support that well, let's just, you said you mentioned middle schoolers, that a middle schooler needs, that a ninth grader needs, that a 12th grader needs in order to do something like that. Because in my experience, parents have a very binary view of this. It's like you either have this skill or you don't have this skill. And I think sometimes the strategy is like, you should have this skill, so I'm not going to help you.
For sure, right? But I mean, I don't know. I'm in my 40s and sometimes I have to ask my mom, like, hey, like or my friends, like, I'm having this issue at work or I'm having this issue with a client. And it's really hard for me to advocate or to say no, right? Like, I also think as women from a different generation, we are just taught differently, right? That self-advocation piece was not what it is today. We have that same talk as women when we're asking for a different salary, when we're asking for hours that men probably get, right? So, and benefits. So I think that that advocation piece can be taught. I know it was to me. So I would say like at a middle school level, you're definitely going to have to help them. But maybe saying, okay, let's practice with you and me on how we would do this, whether that's in class or it's in an email. Like, you write the email, don't send it, and we'll look at it together. Or if they're talking to their teacher in person, you talk to me like you're talking to your teacher. I know it's scary, but we can do it. Right. And then that transition to high school is also a tough one. Those big transitions from elementary to middle, middle to high, and high to college, and even from college to job, right? These are major transitions in everyone's life. So I would say in that ninth grade, you're also most likely going to have a whole new set of teachers, a whole new set of things to learn. But same thing, students are always going to be out, I say, especially in high school, if you have a student athlete, they're going to be out for games, right? They're going to be out for vacations. There are more events, there are clubs, there are so much going on that I think it's great practice to try to get them to prepare early. You know when they're going to miss. Like, let's put it on a calendar. I don't know what everybody uses, but I know a lot of my families have that calendar on the fridge of everybody's sports events and games and what's going on, and it looks like a crazy puzzle. But working with that, hey, you know that you're going to miss next Tuesday. So on Sunday or Saturday or Friday, the week before, whatever it is, let's try and let your teachers know. How are we going to do that? What's the plan? Are you going to talk to them? Or are we going to write an email? And I think slowly that advocation piece will then just be like, oh, mom, I already did it. Hopefully. Or mom, I need a little bit of help. That was scary. How can you help me? But slowly learning how to advocate, I think is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you handle, and maybe you don't, and that's okay, adults who don't have that ability? So you're talking about this calendar on the fridge, right?
Mhm.
There are plenty of adults who are also neurodivergent, some of them, who don't have the skill, who were not taught self-advocacy, who were not taught how to organize themselves, who are relying on a mix of, coffee, anxiety, and momentum.
The three best.
The three best strategies. Oh, don't forget self-criticism.
That too.
To just like get through their own day. And now, and I see a lot of these parents right now, they're calling me because they hate their kids, because their kids are doing exactly the same thing. And it's like this mirror. And they're like, I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. Right. How do you navigate that in terms of your work? I'm
I
curious.
mean, we work with college students who are young adults, right? And then we've also worked with people who are sort of saying that, like, I have this diagnosis at 30, now it makes a lot of more sense to me while I'm struggling. What do I do? And that's where I would say same techniques, right? If you don't have a calendar, let's make a calendar.
Mhm.
Let's try to start planning in advance. Let's organize that in whatever way. Are you all on a family Google Calendar? Are we writing it down and visualizing, which I like both? So same thing, in order to help organize, we all have to have some kind of calendar system. We all use it whether we want to or not. So I would say starting there as the parents, and then as the learning how to self-advocate, like I said, it's just practice. So if we're talking about a college student, sometimes when we're working with them, we're just like, hey, we're gonna write that email. Oh no, I'll do it later. No, we're gonna do it now. And so I'm gonna watch you hit send on the screen because I know how that is. And I would also say for parents or for anyone, right now we are inundated with technology and notifications and crazy. So I also tell people, I know we love a good to-do list. I love a good to-do list, but maybe let's putting on the top three things that are easy to get off our list. And then if this is not needed to be done today or in the next 3 days, let's put it on your list for tomorrow. Knowing that we all have the best of intentions, but that the way life is, we're not able to do that. Because I think as we have to-do list and we don't cross it out, we feel like a big old failure. I know that I feel like that, and I do this for a living. So I think that's the thing. Not trying to plan so far in advance unless you have to.
Yeah. I had a coach once who had a strategy, which I actually loved, which was to make the to-do list and do a dump and then calendarize the to-do list.
Yeah,
And in the times when I have done that, I have had like some really productive streaks because I'm
for
like,
sure.
oh, at 3 o'clock, I'm sending this email to so and so. Like it's
Yeah.
on my calendar now.
Yes. And if
Uh,
it's something, I do the same thing. If it's something really important, which is I think also helpful for the Google Calendar and also just in general, putting time off in there. That's something we forget to do. Or driving time, right? If I'm making a hair appointment or whatever. I live in Los Angeles, right? Things
I
take
live in
forever.
DC, same thing.
Yes. Takes forever to get somewhere, right? So putting that time in, so we're not taking a call on the way to our appointment, taking a call, like giving ourselves 10 minutes to like rest. Or I feel like before COVID and Zoom, we would have like 10-minute meeting because you have to get from somewhere to somewhere else on campus or something, right? Whereas like now it's like 11, 12, 1, you're like, give me 5 minutes. I need to use the bathroom. I need to take my dog out. I need to have like a break. And so I would say putting that break time in there because we're also not where we were 20 years ago, where we're going to work for 5 hours. I would be able to sit in the library for 5 hours and study for an exam. If I had to do that now, it would never happen in a million years.
Why do you think? That's interesting.
I think it is technology because back then it was like I had a learning management system for college,
Mhm.
um, and we had a syllabus, right? But most of our professors did not communicate by email. Announcements were done at the beginning of the class, right? I didn't have email for a job. I didn't have a system for like Slack or whatever for there was no social media. Now it's literally like notification, notification, notification. And I try to turn them off sometimes if I'm really trying to get something done because I feel like if not, oh God, this is on fire. And I'll have to go look at it. And then I'm like, what was I doing? And it's so hard to get yourself back into it. So I really think technology has made it really difficult for any of us to be able to do something for more than an hour at a time.
It's so interesting. And I take your point because, like most of our work is now on the computer. And so, yeah, you can turn off notifications on your computer. If you're really being diligent, you can turn off the internet connection, except that if you work on, an online platform, then now you don't have access to your, automatic save and blah, blah, blah. So those notifications, even if they're not buzzing, are coming in. And, we know brains like to procrastinate and we're going to go look at email for a second in the middle of that was a lot of writing. Let me just go do something
For
else here.
sure.
Yeah.
And like I have a system, I don't know if it would ever help anyone else, but even with my team, if it's something I need to look at now, we put three fires, like emojis. If it's like something that can wait, it's two. If it's one, if it, so we have made our own system on Slack where it's like, and I also tell my team, if it's not something I need to be, assume I'm not going to look at it unless you tag me in it.
Mhm.
Because if not, it's just boom, 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 boom. And I do the same thing with my teaching. Like I make a set time to answer all my emails, and then I make a set time later to answer all my emails because I know we all have the best of intentions and we want to help everyone out, but we end up hurting ourselves by being available 24/7.
What's the receptivity of the students that you work with toward this idea of like, I mean, what you're talking about is kind of chunking, batching, scheduling. Like, what's their level of adoption or ability to adopt these techniques?
I mean, I think once we start doing it and it makes sense to them, it's way more acceptable.
Mhm.
Even with our college students, we work on Google Calendars and try to take their syllabi and make it week by week. We used to write everything down. A lot of them do not want to do that. Fair enough. And a lot of them we have using like a post-it system, yellow, red, green, right? So if it's something that they need right then. But in general, it takes a little bit of time because it's something new. I mean, I feel like I am also adverse to doing things that are new because I'm also like, oh, that's gonna take me so much time to figure it out. Once we're there, it's different, right? But once they realize that it's helpful and that it also saves them time to be able to do things they want to do, I think that that's the key.
I want you to give us like a, if you would, and you
Mhm.
can say no, like a case study. Like who's somebody who came to you? What were they struggling with? And then, tell us a little bit about what happened or what the goals were, and then what was the result. I would love to
No, of
understand.
course. It's so funny because I'm writing a book that comes out in May, and it is a case study on some of my students. Um, so I would, let's see. So one of my students was started college during COVID, and was a computer science major. When I met with him the first time, he was on academic probation, hadn't done any of his accommodations, didn't want to say that, didn't want to identify as having, ADHD, didn't want to take his test in the testing center, didn't want to tell his friends. Um, and we just kind of got to the conversation of, if you want to stay in college, we're going to have to look at different things, right? Using your accommodations is one of them. At least signing up. If we're not using them, that's fine, but let's sign up and see where we get. Also having the conversation of why are you doing computer science? Right? Is this something that you are just like, Tara, I have to be a computer scientist? Or is this something that we can do along with something else? Because if you're really struggling in the intro STEM courses, what is worth it to you? And, he kind of came back and said, not really. I thought I wanted to do coding and I thought I wanted to do game design, right? Like that's one of the big ones that people are super interested in. And then they're like, oh, I don't really like my classes. I don't really like learning about Python or whatever it is. So we looked at the business department. So this particular student started taking business classes and looking at cyber security, right? Because that was really what he was interested in. So he started looking at cybersecurity. He signed up for his accommodations. He was one that I say had the wall of Post-its. That was literally like we said, we did a red, yellow, green system, and that was how he did his day. And every once in a while, I could see something in the Zoom. I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, that's Meet with Tara today. Post it on my computer. Like, okay. Um, and he used his accommodations when he wanted. I was never going to push that. If he had a big exam and he thought, hey, I do better if I'm sitting in the classroom, fine, awesome. But we did use note takers and things like that. So at the end, we came off of academic probation. After one semester, he almost got kicked out because we got to a certain point, but not good enough. And we worked on that because, hey, he has come so far. Like, give us one more semester. And then off of academic probation, graduated with like over a 3.0 in business administration, and is now in law school, and studying cyber law. So he found a way to take that love of whatever it was, cybersecurity, and maybe not do it in the computer science way, but do it in I'm going to work in law in this way. And I'm also going to get to use what I was interested in before, but maybe not as my full-time job.
It's interesting. It strikes me. So that particular example, and maybe I don't know if all your cases are like this, but it's a little bit of like career coaching too, right? Like it's like, who are you? What are you interested in? What do you like? What are you good at? What do you want to do? What do you not want to do? What's going to work for you? And then it sounds like you've got a list of tools and strategies that you're like, okay, you have, I don't know why this is happening. I just got an image of a shoe. Like you're, bear with me for a second.
You're fine.
You're like, your foot is very narrow. You have a high arch and a fairly small size. Here are the shoes that are going to fit this foot. Which ones do you like? Let's try them on. And then you leave with hopefully a couple new pairs of shoes. I don't know why the shoe thing, but anyway, strategies and like profile of the person. Yeah. And then marrying those.
Yeah, I think especially now as students have to declare before they go. And like I tell everyone, I don't know if you've ever seen Son-in-Law. I was Polly Shore. Oh my God, you have to watch it. It's a great movie. From the 90s. I don't know if it's great, but it was from the 90s and he was a 30-year-old college student and he'd been every major. And I changed my major 4 times before I became chemistry because we could do that. And now often I find that the parents have helped the student choose a major, which is fine. They know their child, but maybe the child is also doing that because, oh, dad's an accountant, maybe I should be an accountant, right? Or mom's a doctor, maybe STEM is for me, without really thinking about, okay, but now we're in the classes, and if you don't like it, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? It's a very long, especially something like STEM is a very long field that if that's not something you want to do, like there are plenty of other things.
I'm going to sneeze, so keep talking.
You're totally fine. So yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes I have to have that conversation with the parents and being like, hey, also like they hate this. Most of this is trying to stay in it for you. So what are we doing this for? If we can find something that they enjoy, I had another student who, you know, hated accounting, couldn't get through accounting at his college, and we chose something else. He's now a real estate agent in Beverly Hills. So, like, who was great at talking to people and loved doing all those things. Accounting wasn't his thing. So, making that change, he got to find what worked for him.
Yeah, interesting. Really interesting. Oh my gosh. Um, Tara Williams, if people want to learn more about your work and the people you work with, what do they do?
So, we have our website, which is innovativecollegiateconsultants.com. That will have all of our socials. You can schedule a free consultation, and then it'll also have our socials where we're going to talk a little bit about my book when it comes out. But any of those ways would be perfect.
Perfect. And your book is out in,
It's supposed to be printed May or June,
okay.
but we'll have it available on Amazon or whatever. And if you want to take a look at it, I would love to talk to you after.
Okay, perfect. We will set that up. And until next time, thanks for being here.
Thank you.